everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Felix.
And I'm Cindy.
And we are the Roaming Gomes. And in 2019, we sold everything, climbed aboard our 2020 Keystone Bullet, and went full time.
Now we're in our 2022 Keystone Cougar. Following my nursing contracts across the country, we've been back and forth the country several times. Now we are in Arizona, and
we've been here for a bit now.
Yeah, well, in the state. Just
in the
not
state,
in this particular spot, but.
And we just got new tattoos. But we're not here to talk about our tattoos. A little while back, we did a video kind of arguing with a video that somebody else had posted about the necessity to have a whole bunch of guns on board of your RV. And you can go take a look at that if you desire. But this week, we want to talk about staying safe out on the road full time. And not just full time.
Even if you're boondocking for the weekend, if you're just doing a vacation, if you're part-timers, weekend warriors, whatever, it's a good idea to have some things in mind and have some things in place to make sure that you're safe.
I mean, and we kind of made this point in the other video, this isn't about being worried all the time and being stressed. This lifestyle is supposed to be more enjoyable than living in a sticks and bricks.
And a lot of people, if you're not full-time, when you take your RV out, it's for fun. It's for enjoyment. It's not for being worried about somebody breaking in or somebody stealing your things or the other things that a lot of people fear. You want to do the things in advance that you can do to be safe. And that way, while you're out, you can be enjoying your time.
We've been on the road almost 5 years. Wow.
Doesn't seem like it.
Okay. And as we said in the last video, there'll be a video talking about our 5 years on the road and so on and so forth, sometime around the beginning of October. But in the 5 years that we've been living full time in an RV, we've never really felt unsafe.
I haven't felt scared, really, at all.
I mean, there was the time that we went to Roadrunner RV Park in El Paso, and I don't think it was so much that we felt unsafe, but more along the lines of we just felt like we made a bad choice about what RV park we were going to be in.
And it was just an overnight. We were traveling across the country, and that was one of our overnight stays.
And to be quite honest with you, it was probably one of the worst night's sleep that we've had on the road. And there was no need for it. It was just a badly kept RV park is really all it turned out to be.
It looked sketchy.
Right.
To start with, but really it turned out to not be a problem at all.
And that is one of the first things I want to talk about up front. Know where it is you're going. Situational awareness is going to be a theme throughout probably this entire video. If you were buying a house, you would check out the neighborhood. You would maybe go and check out the neighbors. You don't necessarily have that option when you're going to a place to stay, whether it be an RV park or boondocking or whatever. But there are things where you can look online. Look for the crime rates in the area that you're going to.
Look for reviews from other people that have stayed there.
Yeah, exactly. And as much as we rely on RV Parky to find our RV parks and where we're going to stay, I don't necessarily recommend it for its reviews because a lot of people don't review it. I mean, there's been a lot of RV parks that we've looked at in that app, and the last review was like from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but you can look on Google. You can look on any number of RV park apps and see the reviews. If people are saying that the area is sketchy or that it's a not well kept RV park,
you can usually believe those reviews. because people are pretty honest when it comes to RV parks. For some reason, they don't hold any punches. They are very specific about how they were treated by the staff. They're very specific about their site. They're very specific about the amenities, if they're clean, if they're not. People are very open about spilling the tea on those RV parks.
In the RV community, people want what they want. And if they don't get it, you're going to know it.
Now, if you see one that says, we were in the woods and there were bugs.
And honest to God, we've seen an RV park review like that.
If you ask me, though, nature sucks.
It's like, you're outside, there's going to be bugs. I don't think the RV park can do anything about that.
Yeah. But not to get too far down that rabbit hole, let's talk about some tips where you can keep your RV safe. One of the things you can do is get a hitch lock. Okay, it's something that you put on the front of the trailer that will not allow somebody to just back up and hook up and take off with your trailer. Simple, relatively inexpensive. There'll be a link in the description below to the one we use. And it doesn't have to be, Fort Knox. Okay? But remember something, folks. Criminals tend to be lazy.
It's going to serve as much a deterrent as it is a prevention of somebody taking your trailer.
And yeah, if they're coming to your trailer and they see that hitch lock on there and Joe next door is just wide open, they're going to go to Joe next door. One of the things you can do, in addition to your hitch lock, is change the door lock on your RV. We use RVLife. We're not sponsored by RVLife. But we used it on our first trailer, and it was the first thing I changed when we got this trailer. You would be amazed how many RVs have the exactly same keyed lock. Just go out. If you're in an RV park right now and there's a couple of friends that you have, go out with the key to your door lock. Tell them you're going to do it, obviously, and walk over to their RV and see if your key works in their lock. Have them do the same with your RV. And there's a better than average chance, probably maybe in the 90s%, that those two keys are going to work in the two RVs. Get rid of that lock, install an RV lock or something similar, and that will improve your feeling of safety immensely. Hello, Onyx.
It has a combination, ours does, has a combination and a key you can use. Even has a remote that you can unlock it and lock it from outside or inside. And that is very helpful for whenever I'm coming in and it's locked, I can just put the combination in or use a key, either one. So
yeah, and I mean, as a side benefit, if you walk out of there without remembering the key, you just use the combination. You can open the door.
Another thing that helps people feel safe and is a great alarm system is a dog.
And it doesn't have to be big and mean and vicious like him.
He makes a lot of noise whenever somebody gets anywhere near our RV. If somebody is talking outside and if it's not Felix, if somebody's talking or walking or dares to touch the side outside, if somebody were to, we've never had this happen, but if somebody were to try and open one of the basement doors, he would be all over it. And anytime he alerts to something like that, we check it out.
Oh, absolutely.
That way we know if there is or is not. It could have been just somebody walking by. But they have that hearing that they hear things we probably wouldn't hear, especially if we're watching television or having a conversation. We may not hear something that he's going to hear. He's going to alert us to it, and we're going to check it out.
And that's the thing. If you're going to get a dog, pay attention. when the dog alerts you. I mean, a lot of people will just sit there watching TV. Their dog is losing its mind. Shut up, Fido. No, get up and check.
That's not the only reason we have Bucky, but
Of course.
it's a really good fringe benefit.
Something else. If you're going to be boondocking, get bear spray. It's cheap. It's available in pretty much every outdoor store. Cabela's, REI, all of them. They have it. And it doesn't have to be just to protect yourself from predators like bears and wolves and so on. It's also a pretty good non-lethal deterrent for humans too. I can tell you, and I've actually been sprayed with pepper spray. And what bear spray is essentially pepper spray on steroids. It ain't fun. And it's, like I said, it's fairly cheap to keep on hand. And it is very effective with animals, both four and two-legged.
If you're like probably most of our subscribers, you may be a couple or a family that's traveling together, but believe it or not, there are a lot of women that RV by themselves.
And it seems to be
Growing, yeah.
more and more.
I'm actually a member of a group on Facebook that's Girl Camper is the name of it. And there are a lot of women, and even women in their 60s and 70s, that are out camping and RVing by themselves. Some of them are full-time. Some of them are car campers. Some of them have really small campers that they pull. Some of them have big motorhomes that they drive. And they're by themselves. A lot of times they'll have a dog or a couple of cats or something, but as far as they're not with another human, they're by themselves. And that's something that a lot of people would say, that's too risky, that's too scary, a woman by herself. And granted, this world, especially this country that we live in, it will be kind of scary. But there are things that you can do to offset some of that, the things we've already talked about. And that situational awareness is extremely important. If you're a woman traveling by yourself and you're boondocking, be sure and have the bear spray. Have lights outside that, maybe a motion sensor. When you step out, that light's going to come on. And make sure that you're not announcing that you're by yourself. One of the tips that some people say is they will set a pair of men's boots outside their RV to make it look like there's a man living there. That's not a great deterrent, but it could be something that would at least make somebody walk on by.
And like I said before, criminals are lazy. So they may look at that and say, well, you know what? That one over there doesn't have boots out front.
Yeah. And if you are in an RV park as a single woman, make friends with your next door neighbors. Find out if they're going to be there for as long as you are. Introduce yourself. Let them know, I'd appreciate it if you kind of keep an eye out around my trailer. If you see anything unusual or something out of the way, please let me know so I can address that. Or, I like people to know who I am and where I am so that, I know somebody if something happens, and I feel safer when I do that. Just be honest and upfront with them. And if you're a couple and you find yourself parked beside of or near what looks like a single woman camping, reach out and make friends with them. And just, if nothing else, say, hey, if you need anything, let us know. If you need help with something, or if something goes wrong, be sure and give us a call or come by and knock on our door. We'll be glad to help you if we can. That way, it makes them feel a little safer, and it gives you opportunity to help somebody. Plus, the universe, if you put something good out, you're going to get something good back. So, as a single woman, there are things that you can do, mostly situational awareness. Be sure that where you're parking is not somewhere sketchy. Be sure that you know some about the area and not announce that you're by yourself.
And we're not saying that guns are evil or any of that. I own a gun. Okay? I keep it. I'm not telling you where I keep it. But I have one. I am not fully armed to the teeth where every place that I can hide a gun, I have a gun in. I have one. And maybe that will make you feel a little safer. So if that is true, get yourself a gun. But bear in mind that if you're a traveler, somebody who travels often across state lines, you're going to have issues in some states owning a gun. I can't take my gun. I bought my gun here in Arizona, which is pretty much a free carry state. I cannot take that gun to the East Coast. Most of the states on the East Coast are not free carry unless you're down in the deep South, and a lot of those are. But if I tried to go to New York or New Jersey, to some extent Pennsylvania, I could have a big problem. And you need to be aware of all those things if you're going to invest in a firearm.
And if you have children traveling with you, by all means, please have it locked away. Absolutely, 100% positively, they cannot get to it. There are just entirely too many accidents where the gun owner really thought they had things secured and it was not. And this is one of the most tragic things is when a kid gets a hold of a gun and accidentally shoots themselves or somebody else. And there's so many things you can do to prevent that. If you don't do anything but buy a little safe with a combination on it, or that has to have your thumbprint, there's all kinds of safety things that you can get when it comes to guns, just to be sure those kids can't get to it.
Now, one of the things that I've seen a couple of the YouTube channels that we watch recently complain about this. But the complaint is kind of falling on deaf ears with me, because if you're going to stay overnight somewhere, be it a Walmart, a Cabela's, anywhere,
Cracker Barrel.
A lot of people don't want a lot of traffic out there. They want to be able to just sleep and not be disturbed. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. If you're going to go to a Walmart, a Cracker Barrel, a Cabela's, I would prefer that it's at least moderately trafficked. I want people out there. I don't want to be out, and this is talking about just for overnights, okay? Not when you're going to go out boondocking in the middle of the desert and you want quiet, you want peace. But if you're going to be staying overnight somewhere, and especially in one of those places, odds are that you're going to be staying in at least a moderately sized city or town. And that's, quite honestly, where the most sketch can happen.
Crime is higher in cities. Yeah.
So it definitely would help to have people kind of in and out of that parking lot. You know, just milling about, going into the store, coming back out, so on and so forth. And yeah, maybe that's not going to provide the greatest night's sleep, but it will provide a higher level of safety. Now, I want to tell you a little story. When we were in Rio Rancho, which is a suburb of Albuquerque, her contract was in Albuquerque, we were in an RV park that we don't list as the highest rated RV park we were in, but it's definitely in the middle. It's a nice place. And everybody around us was nice. And then the person directly across from us, whose mother lived with him, and who I knew just from saying hi and so on and so, was extremely nice. He had a mental break. And I kind of had picked up from him that maybe he was a little challenged, but he had a full mental break. I was out actually working on my kayak, and they were directly across the street from us, and this young man completely lost it. He was pacing back and forth in their spot with a pipe in his hand, banging on the table, beating on the propane tanks, beating on the RV. And then and yelling and cursing. And then he would go in the RV, and I could hear him in the RV pretty much doing the same thing to the stuff inside the RV. His mother was not home. Now, why am I telling this story? It's a demonstration of the additional options that RVers have that people who live in sticks and bricks really don't. If you bought a house somewhere, and you move in, and you've checked out the neighborhood, you know the area, right? Maybe you've even met some of the neighbors already, and you're there, and something like this occurs. You really only have one option: call the police and hope for the best. The problem there is, if you're living in a sticks and bricks and that person across the street from you owns their house also, they're not going to tell that person they can't come back. So you very well could be subject to that situation again. In the RV life, we had two options. I could have gone to the office and said, we're moving spots, or we're out of here, and gone to another RV park. There was actually a KOA not that far from us over there. Mm-hmm. Or we could do what we did, which is I got on the phone and I called the office and I spoke to the park manager and I said, look, man, this is what's going on over here. What are you going to do about it? And it wasn't 5 minutes later, there were police there. And those people were, sadly, asked to leave the park. And I say sadly because it was really not that guy's fault. He had something
going on. Yeah.
And like I said, his mother was a nice woman. But it's just a situation where it couldn't have worked out in that park.
And even though at that time he wasn't hurting anybody else and his mother wasn't home, if something like that happened and she was home, he could have hurt her.
Right.
Or it could have been worse and he could have been lashing out at other people.
And I mean,
before somebody could do something about it.
For all I know, he could have looked across the street there and said, what are you looking at? And then come at me. So you have more safety options in an RV than you have in a house.
Your house is on wheels. You can always move.
Exactly. And I've heard it before. Oh, I can't move. I can't. Yeah, you can. Okay? No matter what it takes, if you want it, you need to get away from whatever danger it is that exists. Which brings us around to the main subject of this video: situational awareness. Be aware of your surroundings. And if you do that, there's a much improved chance that you're going to stay safe.
Just like if you're going as a woman, I think about a lot of things going to my car, from my car at work, especially when the days get shorter and it's dark when I go in and come out. I'm always thinking about things around me, watching. No matter how short the walk is, I'm always paying attention to what's around me. And if I go to Walmart by myself, I pay attention to what's going on around me, not out of fear, but just out of awareness, just making sure that myself, that I'm safe and that I am able to complete whatever it is I need to do while I'm out.
And I fear that our obsession with our phones is really hurting situational awareness. I can't tell you, and both of us, how many people we see out there that are just glued to their phone, and I mean, they're going to walk out in traffic.
And some of them do. They just walk through a parking lot and don't pay attention at all to what's going on around them.
You got to be aware of what's around you. And if you're not, you got to learn to be. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.